If you are in passionate love and want to celebrate your passion, read poetry. If you calm down and you want to understand your evolving relationship, read psychology. But if you have just ended a relationship and would like to believe you are better off without love, read philosophy. There is plenty of work extolling the virtues of love, but when you look closely, you find a deep ambivalence: love of God, love of neighbor, love of truth, love of beauty. All of these are urged upon us, but the passionate, erotic love of a real person? No. In the ancient East, the problem with love is obvious. Love is attachment. Attachments, particularly sensual and sexual attachments, must be broken to permit spiritual progress. Buddha said, "So long as lustful desire, however small, of a man for women is not controlled, so long the mind of a man is not free, but is bound like a calf tied to a cow." The Laws of Manu, an ancient Hindu treatise on how young Brahmin men should live, was even more negative about women. It is the very nature of women to corrupt men here on earth. Even Confucius, who was not focused on breaking attachments, saw romantic love and sexuality as threats to the higher virtues of filial piety and loyalty to one's superiors. I have never seen anyone who loved virtue as much as sex. Of course, Buddhism, Hinduism are diverse, and both have not changed with time and place. Some modern leaders, such as the Dalai Lama, accept romantic love and its attendant, sexuality, as an important part of life, but the spirit of the ancient religious and philosophical text is much more negative. In the West, the story is a bit different. Love is wildly celebrated by the poets, from Homer onwards. Love launches the drama of the Iliad, and the Odyssey ends with the lusty return of Odysseus to Penelope. When the Greek and Roman philosophers get hold of romantic love, however, they usually either despise it or try to turn it into something else. Plato's Symposium, for example, is an entire dialogue devoted to the praise of love. But you never know what position Plato holds until Socrates speaks. And when Socrates speaks, he trashes the eulogies to love that Aristophanes and others have just given. He describes how love produces a disease among the animals. First they are sick for intercourse with each other, then for nurturing their young. For Plato, when human love resembles animal love, it is degrading. The love of a man for a woman, as it aims at procreation, is therefore a debased kind of love. Plato's Socrates then shows how love can transcend its animal origins by aiming at something higher. When an older man loves a young man, their love can be elevating for both because the older man can teach the young man about virtue and philosophy. But even this love must be a stepping stone only. When a man loves a beautiful body, he must learn to love beauty in general, not the beauty of one particular body. He must come to find beauty in men's souls, and then in ideas and philosophy. Ultimately, he comes to know the form of beauty itself. The result is that he will see the beauty of knowledge, and be looking mainly not at beauty in a single example, as a servant would who favored the beauty of a little boy or a man or a single custom. But the lover is turned to the great sea of beauty, and gazing upon this, he gives birth to many gloriously beautiful ideas and theories, in unstinging love of wisdom. The essential nature of love as an attachment between two people is rejected. Love can be dignified only when it is converted into an appreciation of beauty in general. The later Stoics also object to the particularity of love, to the way it places the source of one's happiness in the hands of another person, whom one cannot fully control. Even the Epicureans, whose philosophy was based on the pursuit of pleasure, value friendship but oppose romantic love. In De Rerum Natura, the philosophical poet Lucretius lays out the fullest surviving statement of the philosophy of the Epicurus. The end of Book 4 is widely known as the tirade against love. in which Lucretius compares love to a wound, a cancer, and a sickness. The Epicureans were experts on desire and its satisfaction. They objected to passionate love because it cannot be satisfied. When two lie tasting, limb by limb, life's blossom, when flesh gives foretaste of delight, and Venus is ready to sow the female field, they hungrily seize each other, mouth to mouth. The spittle flows, they pant, press tooth to lip. Vainly, for they can chafe no substance off, nor pierce and be gone. One body in the other, for often this seems to be their wish. Their goal, so greedily do they cling in passion's bond. Christianity brought forward many of these classical fears of love. Jesus commands his followers to love God, using the same words as Moses, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. Matthew 22:37. Jesus' second command is to love one another. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. But what can it mean to love others as one loves oneself? The psychological origins of love are an attachment to parents and sexual partners. We do not attach ourselves. We do not seek security and fulfillment in ourselves. What Jesus seems to mean is that we should value others as much as we value ourselves. We should be kind and generous even to strangers and even to our enemies. Christian love has focused on two key words, caritas and agape. Caritas, the origin of our word charity, is a kind of intense benevolence and goodwill. Agape is a Greek word that refers to a kind of selfless, spiritual love with no sexuality, no clinging to a particular other person. As in Plato, Christian love is love stripped of its essential particularity, its focus on a specific other person. Love is remodeled into a general attitude toward a much larger, even infinite class of objects. Caritas and agape are beautiful, but they are not related to or derived from the kinds of love that people need. Although I would like to live in a world in which everyone radiates benevolence toward everyone else, I would rather live in a world in which there was at least one person who loved me specifically, and whom I loved in return. There are several reasons why real human love might make philosophers uncomfortable. First, passionate love is notorious for making people illogical and irrational, and Western philosophers have long thought that morality is grounded in rationality. Love is a kind of insanity, and many people have, while crazed with passion, ruined their lives and those of others. Much of the philosophical opposition to love may therefore be well-intentioned advice by the sages to the young. I think, however, that at least two benevolent motivations are at work. First, there may be a kind of hypocritical self-insert in which the older generation says, "Do as we say, not as we did." Buddha and St. Augustine, for example, drank their fill of passionate love as young men, and came out only much later as opponents of sexual attachments. Moral codes are designed to keep order within society. They urge us to rein in our desires and play our assigned roles. Romantic love is notorious for making young people give less than a damn about the rules and conventions of their society. So the sages' constant attempts to redefine love as something spiritual and pro-social sound to me like the moralism of parents who, having enjoyed a variety of love affairs when they were young, now try to explain to their daughter why she should save herself for marriage. A second motivation is the fear of death. Jamie Goldenberg at the University of Colorado has shown that when people are asked to reflect on their own mortality, they find the physical aspects of sexuality more disgusting, and they are less likely to agree with an essay arguing for the essential similarity of people and animals. Goldenberg and her colleagues believe that people in all cultures have a pervasive fear of death. Human beings all know that they are going to die, and so human cultures go to great lengths to construct systems of meaning that dignify life and convince people that their lives have more meaning than those of the animals that die all around them. The extensive regulation of sex in many cultures, the attempt to link love to God and then to cut away the sex, is part of an elaborate defense against the gnawing fear of mortality. If this is true, if the sages have a variety of unstated reasons for warning us away from passionate love and attachments of many kinds, perhaps we should be selective in heeding their advice. Perhaps we need to look at our own lives, lived in a world very different from theirs, and also at the evidence about whether attachments are good for us or bad.